For 20 years, China insisted this helicopter was theirs alone, a purely domestic design, built without a single foreign hand on the drafting table. Then a Russian company admitted otherwise, and a United States federal court proved it with a $75 million guilty plea. This is the Changhe Z-10, the machine China calls Fierce Thunderbolt, and the story of how a helicopter born from denial became one of the most quietly consequential weapons programs in modern Chinese military history. Rewind to 1991. The Gulf War is over in weeks, and the reason is airborne. American AH-64 Apaches are tearing through Iraqi armor columns from ranges Iraqi tanks can't even see. Beijing is watching, and Beijing does not have an answer. The People's Liberation Army ground force has no dedicated attack helicopter, only converted transports and a handful of aging gazelles armed with wire-guided missiles bought years earlier. It's not a gap, it's a vulnerability, and everyone in the room knows it. So in 1994, China starts a program. Officially, it's called the China Medium Helicopter, a 6-ton civilian transport project. Nothing more. That's the story on paper. It is not the story in the design office, because in 1995, under a name that reveals nothing, Project 941, Chinese officials quietly approach Russia's Kamov-designed bureau, the people behind the Ka-50 Black Shark, and commission a preliminary airframe design for what is, in reality, a dedicated attack helicopter. The civilian cover isn't sloppy misdirection, it's deliberate. China is still under a Western arms embargo from the Tiananmen Square crackdown 5 years earlier, and a civilian program can quietly attract European rotor and transmission expertise that a declared military program never could. It works. Eurocopter signs on for rotor system consulting, Augusta contributes transmission engineering, and an American company, Pratt & Whitney Canada, begins supplying turboshaft engines under a commercial contract, apparently unaware or unwilling to ask too many questions about where those engines are actually headed. Here's what nobody outside a small circle of Chinese engineers knows yet. The aircraft taking shape on paper already has the silhouette that will define it for the next 3 decades. A narrow, angular fuselage engineered from the very first sketch to be hard to see on radar, not as an afterthought. The raw materials that will become that fuselage start far from any helicopter. Titanium sponge, refined into ingot form, aluminum lithium alloy billet stock, and spooled carbon fiber tow arrive at Chinese aerospace material processing facilities. The unglamorous inputs behind every modern warplane, indistinguishable at this stage from the stock-feeding fighter jets, satellites, or civilian airliners. There's no drama in a stack of metal billets. But every gram of what becomes the Z-10's radar-evading skin starts exactly here, as anonymous industrial feedstock with no military signature at all. From there, it moves. Sub-assemblies, engine components, and machine stock travel between partner institutes. And this is where the program's internal politics get interesting. Harbin Aircraft Manufacturing Corporation is initially handed primary production responsibility, but by 1999, most of that responsibility quietly transfers to a different company entirely, Changhe Aircraft Industries Corporation. Officially, Harbin was simply overloaded with other aircraft programs. Unofficially, multiple accounts point to Soviet-style management friction and mounting debt inside Harbin's operation, a company that, according to some of these accounts, couldn't keep pace with a program this sensitive. Whichever version is closer to true, the effect is the same. Production authority moves, quietly, and the outside world doesn't notice for years. And here's where the secrecy compounds rather than resolves. Publicly, the 602nd Research Institute is credited as the sole domestic designer. That's the story China tells itself, its military, and eventually the world. Internally, the Kamov contract that shaped the aircraft's fundamental layout simply doesn't exist in any official narrative. The program is classified under stricter secrecy than even the Changhe Z-10 fighter jet, a genuinely startling detail, given that the J-10 was, at the time, one of China's most closely guarded fighter programs. Nearly 4 billion yuan gets funneled into a helicopter that, on paper, doesn't have a foreign origin story at all. By the summer of 1999, engineers are testing Z-10 subsystems, fire control, cockpit controls, navigation, bolted onto a modified Z-8 transport helicopter because the real airframe isn't ready to fly yet. A Harbin Z-9 joins the testbed fleet that autumn. It's unglamorous, iterative work, validating electronics on borrowed airframes, while the real machine slowly takes shape in engineering drawings and wind tunnel data. The full-scale test platform isn't complete until the end of 2001. Now the fuselage itself starts to exist as metal, not paper. This is where the heavy fabrication happens. Sheet forming and composite panel layup, shaping the fuselage into its signature cross-section. Not round, not flat-sided like an Apache, but distinctly hexagonal, rhombic, top and bottom halves canted inward to a central ridge running the length of the aircraft. That shape isn't cosmetic. Forged titanium structural members take shape under press equipment. Rotor blade molds cure with cambered, swept tips. A deliberate acoustic and vibration reduction choice on what will become a 5-blade main rotor, 1 blade more than the 4-bladed rotors on most Western equivalents. The Z-10 finally takes to the air on April 29, 2003, nearly a decade after the program quietly began. And even then, the aircraft that flies isn't finished evolving. Later production batches strip weight from earlier armor-heavy prototypes. Engineers wrestle with a genuinely unresolved problem. The WZ-9 engine, adapted from Pratt & Whitney Canada's commercial design, is underpowered at altitude, and no amount of airframe cleverness fully compensates for a propulsion system that simply doesn't have the thrust reserves Western analysts expect from a modern attack helicopter. That gap, thrust versus weight, especially in China's high-altitude western regions, is where analysts still don't agree. Some Chinese sources argue upgraded WZ-9 variants have closed the performance deficit against Western engines. Independent defense analysts remain far less convinced, pointing to persistent complaints about power margins even in later Z-10ME variants. Neither side has combat data to settle it, because as of today, the Z-10 has never fired a shot in an actual war. Inside the cleanroom conditioned final assembly stage, the aircraft comes together in earnest. 62mm rounds install the stepped tandem cockpit, where the gunner sits low and forward, and the pilot sits higher behind, mount the chin turret and its cannon, and integrate the helmet-mounted sight systems that let the crew aim weapons just by looking at a target. Later in the production run, ceramic and graphene composite armor plates get bonded onto the engine housing and cockpit sides, armor that wasn't part of the original design, added only after operational feedback exposed how vulnerable the early airframe actually was. And this is where the secrecy resurfaces, deeper and more specific than before. It isn't just that the Kamov-designed contract stayed hidden. All 3 companies pled guilty. They paid more than $75 million in penalties and admitted their own executives knew from the project's inception that this was a military helicopter program, not the civilian one they'd been told to believe. China's defense ministry, for its part, publicly denied ever using the software at all, a denial issued after an American company had already confessed under oath to supplying it. Ask yourself which is more remarkable here, that a Chinese attack helicopter secretly used a Russian preliminary design, or that it took a completely unrelated American federal prosecution, one that had nothing to do with helicopters as its original target, to accidentally confirm just how deep China's need for foreign technology really ran. The finished aircraft that emerges from this is, in almost every visible way, engineered to deny an adversary options. Its slim frontal profile and radar-absorbent coating exist for one purpose: to make it harder for opposing air defense systems to detect an attack run before it's too late to respond. Its upward-angled engine exhausts, mixing hot gas with cooler bypass air, exist to defeat infrared-guided missiles specifically. Every design choice on this airframe is a subtraction from what an opponent can reliably do. Take away easy radar lock, take away a clean infrared shot, take away the assumption that China's ground forces have no answer to enemy armor. That's the real function of a helicopter like this. Not what it adds to China's arsenal, but what it removes from everyone else's calculations. By 2009, the Z-10 enters frontline service with the PLA Ground Force Aviation. Production eventually settles somewhere in the range of 200 to 300 airframes. Modest by American or Russian standards, but enough to reshape China's entire approach to close air support and anti-armor doctrine. An export variant follows, the Z-10ME, with upgraded engines, added armor, and combat electronics tuned for climates far from China's own borders. That export variant is where the story catches up to right now. In August 2025, Pakistan holds a formal induction ceremony for its own Z-10ME fleet, after years of stalled negotiations with Turkey fell apart over deteriorating relations with the United States. 9 months later, in May 2026, footage surfaces on social media showing a Pakistani Z-10ME fitted with something new, a mast-mounted millimeter-wave radar bolted above the rotor hub, a capability upgrade nobody had officially announced. It's a small detail. It's also exactly the kind of detail that keeps defense analysts checking satellite feeds and social media accounts obsessively. Because China rarely tells anyone what it's testing until the testing is already visible from above. Is a helicopter like this actually worth the decades of denial that built it? Or does the more interesting question live somewhere else entirely, whether any modern military power can still credibly claim full technological independence, when even its most guarded weapons programs trace back, eventually, to someone else's original blueprint? That question doesn't have a clean answer. And neither, really, does the Z-10's own origin story. For 2 decades, one government insisted this machine came from nowhere but itself. The paper trail, a Russian design bureau's quiet admission, and an American company's federal guilty plea says otherwise. What's left is a helicopter now serving 2 air forces on a genuinely contested subcontinent, built on a foundation its own government still won't fully acknowledge.
This video is created for educational and informational purposes using advanced AI tools and human creativity. All concept scripting and storytelling are independently developed to ensure originality. Visuals and animations are generated or enhanced using AI technologies such as View 3 Meta AI and Grok AI, while final editing and post-production are completed using CapCut and other professional editing tools. No external created content has been copied or reused. Any resemblance to real-world environments, factories, or processes is purely coincidental. All scenes shown in the video are digitally created and do not represent real footage. This content is produced with transparency and follows YouTube monetization guidelines.